In this video, I'm going to break down a live client intake form where we're going to go over all of the data points that we go over with clients. And the particular client that we're going over is a nerdy dad, loves Star Wars, wants to be healthy and fit for his family. He's already down over 25 pounds, but the big challenges that he's had recently has been dietary restrictions, food allergies. He's only able to train certain ways with some knee pain. And the big one is his wife just gave birth to their second kid. And so I'll go over kind of how we've been able to adapt everything, the data points that we're looking at to make sure that he doesn't get burnt out so that he can be consistent long term, continue to see results. And so we're going to basically share screen and walk you through how everything has been working. So this is the inside portal that will work with clients and look at these data points. And so the first thing that we have clients do is fill out each week essentially a check-in form. And this check-in form is going to give us basic data points on one, just their adherence. And this is kind of self-reported, but then we can know where to look for any issues and things that could be showing signs of negative biofeedback, someone who is overstressed, their body's communicating, hey, we're not handling certain foods, or we need to recover more, sleep. And so what you'll see here is training adherence, daily steps, nutrition adherence, adherence with supplement protocols, any hunger and just rating hunger cues, rating sleep, rating stress, and then digestion. And so just kind of set the frame here. His initial challenge was last minute schedule changes threw off the whole week. And so in our check in, we were able to see, okay, he was super stressed. He wasn't sleeping really well. And that led to him having a harder time being consistent on the training side of things. So we can go in here and see, all right, what was going on the training side of things. Had 1, 2 days that got missed, had to move a leg day around, and then there was a hit day that got added in. So overall, he's been very consistent. And that's why he's where he's at 4.5, 5 months in, being down the weight that he's at. But the thing that happened is essentially Friday and Saturday got really stressful. Had a few nights where sleep was, not where he'd want it to be, makes sense with the newborn. And so, first thing that we want to do is say, okay, cool. What are the contingency plans? And that was his question. What do I do for backup workouts when the schedule changes and I can't get to the gym? So that's where we have everything on the channel that you're watching right now. There are hundreds of workouts that people can do for free, but these are also great ways to say, all right, we've got a regular gym workout plan for 40, 45 minutes. So his training plan said, all right, we're going to go do an upper body workout. His splits upper, lower, push, pull legs. So ideally, he's able to get into the gym and use all of this equipment, but he's not able to. So then what would be a good alternative? Well, let me show you what a good alternative would be for someone watching this that we're not working with. So if he's wanting to do an upper body, well, guess what? Only there was an upper body workout for him to do that he could do at home in, 10 minutes. Well, guess what? There is. You got the 501st workout series. You've got the Boba Fett workout series. So he's able to get a workout in here, and that's kind of his contingency fallback plan. Now, keep in mind, this one is 25 minutes. So if he needed to do something that was a little bit quicker or shorter, he can slide on down to a 10-minute workout. And so the big thing here is you don't want to just not work out because you can't get it in or because you're stressed. You want to have the ability to kind of fall back into something that's less intensity, something that is less volume, something that is quicker, something that doesn't require travel. And that's how you can stay consistent there. Now, what else do we got here? So we've got hunger being low, which is really interesting because hunger is really low and his calorie intake has been at a point, where, like I said, he's down 25 pounds. And we can go and look at nutrition graphs and see where he's been. We're targeting 2,100 calories, 184 grams of protein. And, you can see calorie intake here. Protein's still something that we're continuing to work on, but you can see where, okay, hunger's low, but he's in a deficit. So why is hunger low? Well, the thing that kind of gave me a sense that, he was stressed out before I even looked at this, and it said that his stress was 3 out of 10, is a lot of times when people are really stressed, hunger will go away, or the desire to eat goes away. And when you look at the central nervous system or the autonomic nervous system, it's going to go into two different branches: sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system. And the parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest, feed and breed. Those are kind of like the slogans for them. Whereas sympathetic nervous system is fight, flight, or freeze. Okay. So someone who is in their sympathetic dominant nervous system, fight, flight, or freeze, is the opposite of someone who is resting, digesting, feeding, and breeding. So his lack of hunger is more of a sign of his body not wanting to eat because it is under stress. And now this is one particular week. If this was a pattern, this is obviously something we would take into account, but we're able to say, okay, cool, stress is really high. He also slept 4 out of 10. So his sleep, self-reported, was pretty poor. So that's going to impact his stress threshold, his stress capacity, the stress that his body's under. He's not hungry. So his system is under a lot of stress. We see digestions at 8 out of 10, which is actually pretty good. And sometimes one of the things that we'll look at is a gut health questionnaire where we're able to just kind of dive into, okay, what symptoms are you experiencing? Because again, he's got a food intolerance. So we want to see if that is making itself worse. We want to see if that is something that is causing him to, struggle nutritionally. And these are all things that we want to take into account. If it sounds like there's a lot going on, there is yes and no, but we're basically just using this as a guiding post to see where we want to shift and put our focus. So continuing to go down through the check-in, he hit his lowest weight ever, started visibly noticing changes in his body, which is awesome. We see that in his photos, we see that in his measurements. What should I do for backup when I can't get to the gym? The reason why I wanted to cover all this is because when stress gets higher, I'll use my mug here just to kind of give you guys a visual. Every human has got what's called the allostatic load. So that is basically how much stress you can handle. Newborn, work stress, grandma's in the hospital, dogs, throwing up, and you're not sleeping, that stress threshold gets only so high. But being in a calorie deficit is also stressful on your metabolism. High intensity training, lifting heavy, maximal heart rate training is stressful on your central nervous system. So your training might account for this. Your nutrition might account for this. So if things get really stressful in life that you can't control, what needs to adjust? Your training, your nutrition. So, depending on how things go for him, we might go into more of a maintenance mode. And that's bringing calories up to allow his body to have everything that it needs to recover. We might reduce training volume from 5 days a week to 3 days a week. And we had him at 3 days a week, or at least a lower training volume when he was going through what new parents experience, which is a lot of stress. So yeah, actually we can see that if we go and look at this here. I can't remember the exact time, but essentially you have lower posterior, a cycling, lower anterior, and a bodyweight workout. So he was working out 3 times with some low intensity steady state cycling during, a much more stressful period of his life. Things started to slow down. He's going back to work. He's got more time. Okay, cool. Let's go into a 5-day split, training a little bit more. So anyway, coming back to wrap this up, we've got a lot of stress. So if getting into the gym, and this last week, if getting into the gym is hard, what's the fallback plan? Something a little bit lower intensity, a little bit less time, reduce the stress, give yourself more time, maybe allow yourself another hour to sleep in, and you might pull back from a training intensity standpoint. Nutritionally, we might pull back and pull him out of a deficit so that that's not as stressful. We might pull him and give less training days. We might say, hey, let's work out 3 days a week and focus more on walking to continue to be in, the calorie expenditure, total daily energy expenditure target that we want to be at. But we always want to use biofeedback as a guiding post. So we're always looking at what is stress? What is digestion? How has digestion been? If there are issues with digestion, is it tied to specific foods? That's something I wanted to cover here and I totally spaced on. We want to be able to go and look at, all right, what are you having and at what time? And is that contributing to something else, right? Are you eating a bunch of food and then going and working out and that's giving you digestive issues? That would make sense. Body doesn't want to digest a bunch of food when it's in its sympathetic state. Are you front loading your day with a bunch of protein, or are you not getting enough of protein? All of that is stuff that we can go in and look. We can go in and look specifically at the MyFitnessPal data. We can go and look at the micronutrient data. So one that we will look at a lot What's fiber intake been? What's sodium been? You know, where are we at from a vitamin standpoint, from a fat standpoint, sugar standpoint? All of this is going to be a sign and symptom that we're looking at to be able to get a sense as to how progression is going on the scale, to get a sense as to how progression is going from a measurement standpoint, right? And how the body is measuring using a tape measure, 41 down to 38 around the waist. So we've got a sense that that's improving. We've got a sense from a photo standpoint that body composition's proving here. And it's just a holistic way, all of this, to just kind of wrap this up. It's a holistic way to really make sure that we're looking at the individual, what's going on, what's coming up, what has been showing up from a data standpoint, and just making data driven decisions and really curating something for someone so that they can be as successful as possible. And then explaining, like I'm doing in this video, here's why we're doing what we're doing so that you can maintain this for years to come because you understand and have the keys and the map out of the maze. I use this analogy with every single person I work with. If you can only take a plane off in blue skies with no wind, but it's and that's when you're able to be a good pilot. But as soon as there's turbulence and wind and rain, you crash the plane, you're not a good pilot. So what I want to do with a client, or what coaches that we work with have on staff want to do with their clients when we're working with them want to do, is we're the co-pilot. We're showing you how to read these instruments so that you can be successful in a storm, so that you can be successful when there's a little bit of rain, so that you can be successful when there's blue skies. Because if you can do that, you can be successful during the holidays, during travel, during stressful times, when your baby is born, right? That's going to be a stressful time for a lot of dads. And so if you can do that and still be successful, you're much more likely to keep the results you get. People will gain the weight back because they don't understand how to adapt what they're doing and stay consistent. And then there's the whole other side of this of what is your identity? Why are you doing what you're doing? And we get to work on clients with that and help them make that shift by helping them tap into what we call the alter ego and really gamifying the process. I haven't even showed the community side of things that we do, where we, give people alter egos and squads and create different challenges themed to clone troopers and Star Wars. And it's a ton of fun, but it's all about making an identity shift and educating people so that they understand why they're getting the results, how to get the results, and then who are they, and who do they see themselves as, and the identity shifts and the values and the beliefs that they have around food and training and what they're able to do. When we do that, that's how people are able to see results long term. And that's how people are able to see results ultimately faster, because they're not trying to figure this out on their own and do what I call is the lone wolf traveling fast, versus what we want to do is the pack that travels far. The lone wolf travels fast, the pack travels far.